Okay, so here we have if I squared equals -1, then what is 1 minus 3i raised to the third power? So when something's raised to the third power, that means it's multiplied by itself 3 times. So I've written it down, 1 minus 3i times 1 minus 3i times 1 minus 3i. So I'm going to FOIL these two. As you can see, I've started to do here. I'm just going to bring this first one down until after we've FOILed this. So FOILing is first, outer, and then inner, last. So this is training wheels. This is a baby step that you don't have to follow if you don't want to, but it's there if you need to put your training wheels back on. So you can see the first 1 minus 3i I brought down. And then I've got 1 times 1. So I wrote down 1 times 1, and that's first. And then outer is 1 times -3i. So I've got plus 1 times -3i. And then I've got inner, which is -3i times 1. So plus -3i times 1. And then last is -3i times -3i. So plus -3i times -3i. So I've got it all set up. And now my next job is to multiply each one of those. So I brought down my first 1 minus 3i again. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times -3i is -3i, because a positive times a negative is a negative, and 1 times anything is that thing. -3i times 1 is -3i. Same reason as the last one. And then -3i times -3i is positive 9i squared. So a negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 3 is 9, and I times I is I squared. So now my next job is to combine my like terms. These are like terms because they both have I. If I've got a term with I squared, it's not like with the ones that are just I. If I have a constant, it's not like with the ones that are I or I squared. So next I'm going to combine these like terms that both have I. I bring down my 1 minus 3i, and then I bring down this one. -3i minus 3i is -6i. Because when I'm adding two negatives, I keep the negative. Or the way I prefer to think about it is, if my bank account says -3, then I'm $3 in the hole. And if I spend another $3, negative means spend, then I'm in the hole $6 now. And then I bring down my plus 9i squared, except they told us that I squared is equal to -1, so I replaced I squared with -1. And my next job will be to multiply it. So I bring down my 1 minus 3i. I bring down my 1 minus 6i, and then a positive 9 times a -1 is a -9. Now, my -9 is a constant just like my 1. They're like terms, so I can say 1 minus 9 is -8. So I bring my 1 minus 3i down. 1 minus -9 is -8, and I bring down my -6i. And now I've got these two guys to FOIL. So F is first, O is outer, I is inner, and L is last. You know what? Maybe I should say this. So first means, like, I kind of pretend like these are two cars, and they're both facing the same direction. And so these two are the first part of the cars, like the hood. And then these two are the outer ends. So the ones that are, I guess you could say, against the air and not against each other. And then inner are the two ends that are against each other. And then last are the trunks of both cars. So I do my baby step, training wheels kind of thing. Ooh, I forgot to label it FOIL. So first is 1 times negative 8. And then outer is 1 times negative 6i. And then inner is negative 3i times negative 8. And then last is negative 3i times negative 3i. So then I'm going to do my multiplication after that. 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. 1 times negative 6i is negative 6i. Negative 3i times negative 8 is a positive 24i. So negative times negative is positive. 3 times 8 is 24. And this doesn't have an I, and this does, so I just bring it down. And then negative 3i times negative 6i is positive 18i squared. So a negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 6 is 18, and I times I is I squared. So now I'm going to combine these two like terms. These both have an I with them, so that's why they're like. This doesn't have an I at all, so it's not like anything else. And this has an I squared, so it's not like anything else. So negative 6i plus 24i is a positive 18i. So I'm $6 in the hole, and then payday comes, and I deposit $24 in the bank. So now I'm out of the hole, and I have $8 to spare. Or another way people say it is, if I'm adding a positive and a negative, then I subtract the two values and I keep the sign of the larger. So I've got my negative 8 here, and then I've got my positive 18i, and then I bring down my positive 18, but instead of I squared, I put negative 1, because that's what they told us up there. Okay, so then the next step is to multiply positive 18 times negative I, and that gives me negative 18, and as for the rest, I just brought it down. And now negative 8 and negative 18 are like terms because they both do not have a variable. Negative 8 plus negative 18, or it's the same as saying negative 8 minus 18, is negative 26 plus 18i. So I'm in the hole $8, I spend $18, I'm in the hole 26 now. So negative means I'm already, like I start out in the hole because I overspent, and then minus means I spend even more. Whereas plus means I deposit money into the bank. Or the other way to think about it is a negative plus a negative. When you have a negative plus a negative, you add the values and the answer's negative. So negative 26 plus 18i. All right, send me more questions and problems, y'all.